Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in. My call sign is Blitz, and you're watching the Survival Outpost, where today I'm going to give you an up-close and personal look at my sub-20-pound urban bailout bag, or UBOB, as I prefer to call it. We're going to talk scenarios. We're going to talk the training and the physical requirements that I put myself through to make sure this kit works and I can use it over long-distance force march. And then I'm also going to give you guys a packing list that is broken down in categories, even broken down to the ounce, so you know exactly what I put in my bag and how much everything weighs out. So I'm pretty excited about this video. It's taken me a while to put it together, and I think you guys are gonna like it too. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So before I do anything with the actual gear itself in terms of building the bag or choosing the gear, I always have to have a clearly defined mission and objective. And then based on the mission, based on the objective, I choose the gear accordingly. In this training scenario, the mission is a forced march across generally hostile terrain, or unknown hostiles, unknown friendlies. You really don't have any contacts along the route. There's a minimal police presence, offset by large, well-armed gangs. Basically, in this context, it's like this. The environment is, the majority of the police have quit, retired, or gone on strike, and the local communities have gotten their long-awaited wish of self-government, which has basically devolved into anarchy and chaos. Imagine the chop zone, but on crack and steroids and everything else. So, I mean, honestly, 5 years ago, this would be craziness, madness, Mad Max situation, but this is not far-fetched. I mean, did you notice that Georgia just declared a state of emergency and called in the National Guard because gun violence in ATL has gone off the charts? I think they're actually in competition now with Chicago for the number of people who can be shot in one single day. Now, the total distance to travel here is 40 plus miles, which not much in a vehicle, but it's a hell of a lot on foot. And the environments are split between urban, industrial urban, and then strictly rural environments. The terrain is generally flat. This is Florida. It's mostly paved, and in some cases dirt or gravel tracks. And the idea here in terms of movement is to move at night. Dress code is gray man. You lay up during the day, you rest, sleep, eat, recover. And what I estimate time of travel, if I put the entire route together, would be about 48 hours max. Okay, so now we have the mission defined, we have the objective, and also a route plotted out on Google Maps. The next move, and this is pretty easy because it can all be done by car almost because it's an urban environment, is to actually do a little recon op and drive the route and see what's out there. And along the way, there are certain things that I keep an eye out for that I always take note of. I keep a lookout for wooded areas, water sources, abandoned buildings, abandoned roads, rail tracks, rail yards, road construction. You know, obviously, if I'm going through urban areas, I want to kind of know what the neighborhood is like. Is there a baby on the corner selling crack at 3 a.m.? You know, what is the possibility of human contact? You know, how many people are in this area? And, you know, you might want to observe that area in the morning on a weekday versus a weekend to try to get a good idea. And, you know, what are the levels of human activity, and, you know, what is the actual police presence in the area? And you're just kind of observing the high level attributes of the area that you're in, and then you're transferring that all to paper. And then what I do is I usually mark up my map, and, you know, with little check marks like, oh, here's a water source here, here's an abandoned building here, so on and so forth. Now the recon is done, gear is packed, and it's time to hit the trail. What I did is, instead of trying to tackle this entire route at one time, I broke it down into 2 sections. And the first part here is basically rural with a little bit of small town USA mixed in. This one was a total of 14.8 miles, which I undertook during peak daytime hours with the heat, and I believe it was about the mid-90s. So I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely a little rough staying hydrated, but I basically just sipped water the entire way. And it was about 90 ounces consumed in 5.5 hours. Now, of course, if I took this route at night, that would be a different story. That would obviously be ideal. I would want to move at night anyways, both for maintaining the low profile and also the temps are great, obviously. I mean, we're talking like mid-70s. Since I had never hiked that far continuously in a forced fashion, I wanted to make sure that I took adequate breaks. So I was very intentional about that. Every 2 miles, I took a 5-minute break, and then halfway in, I think it was, well, was it halfway in? It was more like 9 miles in. I took a 15-minute break where there was a bathroom. I had an opportunity to slam back a bunch of water, refill my canteens, and then continue along the route. And honestly, guys, I pushed as hard as I could, and I burned a ridiculous amount of calories. I was blown away at the amount of calories that I burned. The other leg of the route is through an urban/industrial area. So there's a little bit of housing on the outskirts, and there's also a small neighborhood, but mainly through this entire area, it's just industrial. So, you know, we're talking fill dirt places and concrete factories and recycling plants and all that kind of good stuff. So with that, there's a couple nice advantages. There are rail tracks that you can travel to stay off the main roads, although the population density out there is very low. So I would go for long periods of time without even seeing any vehicles at all. So that was nice. So alternate forms of travel. In terms of water sources, they weren't as easily accessible, so I had to break out my CNOC bag to get some water, but still not a problem. And probably the coolest thing along the way, actually about halfway, I found this abandoned building, which I had open access to and nobody was squatting in. So with this being about halfway along that the other leg of my route, what a great place to remain, you know, during the day, rest and recover, take a quick nap and all that kind of good stuff, and have immediate shelter over your head. So I thought that was pretty cool, an excellent find, and that's why you just have to get out on the ground and look around a little bit and see what's out there. So overall, a good training exercise, and it was nice to be able to bring everything together and have a context of two different environments in one. Now, I'll be 100% honest with you guys, that training exercise kicked my ass. 5.5 hours over nearly 15 miles. I think that's a pretty good time. And granted, the terrain was cake, but either way, for me, it sets a good baseline of what I'm capable on and capable of under those types of conditions. And then I can kind of get a good estimate of what that would be like out in the forest, over hilly terrain or mountainous terrain or whatever. So anyways, that being said and done, let's go ahead and look at that packing list, where my OCD is obviously an amazing and wonderful thing because I have everything broken down into categories, and inside those categories, everything is weighed out to the ounce. So you get an accurate, very detailed look at everything I carry, plus how much it weighs. And the first thing we're gonna look at is the new 3V Gear Shield Redline pack, which I got. I don't even think they're for sale yet. Actually, I don't think they're actually for sale yet. By the time I put this video out, they may be. But anyways, I'm pretty happy with that pack. It's been bomb-proof. I've carried it non-stop, literally for hours and hours on end. Amazing pack. So let's go ahead and have a look at that, and then we'll go ahead and get into the details of what I put in the pack. Now to the category of everyday carry. And here, what I carry on my person is absolutely vital and important, and how I dress is also very important. I don't want to dress overtly tactical. I don't want to dress in any sort of actual fashion styles or trends. I just want to be forgettable. I want to be a gray man. I want to wear clothes that would be at home in an urban environment or even at home in a rural environment. They just kind of blend in and hopefully they're forgotten. And then in regards to the pack, that's also important because I don't want to be carrying a giant pack on my back. That increases my silhouette, increases my visibility, and people are probably going to pay more attention to that than somebody with a 12, 15 pound pack on their back. So those are the things I take into account when I'm putting together my EDC, and this is what I'm carrying. Check it out. We get started with the hat. Now, I sometimes go with this hat, or sometimes I go with a boonie. The boonie's nice because you get a little bit more shade, but it is camo, so, you know, hit or miss, I don't know. So also I have shades. I also have a good old face sock, which is going to be a bit of a face mask, a face barrier against the dreaded COVID-19, which is supposedly going to kill everybody on planet Earth. Hey, if it gets me, it gets me. Anyways, that, you know, and it also provides some camo functionality to cover up your face from shine. The shirt is a dry fit shirt. I have a wrist compass on with a paracord bracelet. I have my watch, which I'm wearing a smartwatch right now just because, you know, I was measuring distance and stuff like that, which was nice to have, and you get all the calories and all that crap. But under a regular situation, if I couldn't reliably know that I could keep this charged for 2 days without plugging it back in, I would go with a regular watch. Then also, of course, I have my phone. I have my Spyderco folding knife, which is a great blade. I have the Buzzard, and this EDC knife I've done a video on before. You might want to check that out. I'll throw a little thingy up there. A suggestion, but this knife is bomb-proof and perfect for low-profile, full-tang everyday carry. Then got my Bic. Also have the Leatherman, which is very light. Everything I've chosen has to be as light as possible. I think this thing weighs in at like 4 ounces or something ridiculously light. And then 511 jeans, which are amazing and super comfortable. They are a little pricey, but trust me guys, they're worth it. And I've low crawled in these things and pushed through brush and briars and everything else. They're basically indestructible, super breathable, super comfortable. They look normal. They're just a pair of pants, but they do have some added pockets. And also what I do is I wear a pair of rash guards underneath this to prevent my legs from chafing and to help channel sweat better. So that's how all that works. And then the New Balance boots, they're great, but they're old and I need another pair. So I got my eye on a pair of 511 boots, which hopefully will show up in the mail in the near future. But that's it. That's the EDC. And then you're probably asking, oh my God, where is this dude's weapon? So if I'm forced marching for 5 hours straight, 6 hours straight, or whatever the case is, and the environment is not a super hostile environment, I'm probably just going to keep the weapon in the pack just because of chafing and wear on my body, because the current pistol that I have is an inside the waistband carry. And I don't know if I would want to be open carrying in that particular environment that I might find myself in. It just depends on the situation. But whatever the case is, the primary weapon of choice is a Glock 19. My first and foremost goal here, guys, is to cut weight as much as humanly possible. And that goes for the everyday carry, the backpack itself, and then the gear. Because, listen, a forced march over 40 plus miles might not sound like a big deal to you. And honestly, it didn't seem like a big deal to me until I actually went and did it and realized that the lighter the pack, the lighter the EDC, the better. Secondly, hydration is critical here, obviously, especially during the summer months. And then the right food selections are also very important, because you need endurance and you need the right fuel to endure long forced marches like what we're talking about here. So I did draw some inspiration from endurance athletes, and you'll see that in the food category that we'll look at in a little bit. Now, these are all lessons that I've learned from experience, which obviously is the absolute 100% best way to learn. So let's go ahead and look at the pack. This is the Shield Redline EDC bag, fresh in from 3V Gear. It's not even available for sale, so I'm very blessed to get my hands on this before it actually hit the market. This bag weighs in at 1.81 pounds with a total capacity of 30 liters and dimensions of 18 inches in height, 12.5 inches wide, and then 8 inches deep. So obviously this is a nice looking bag. It has a great aesthetic, but really what's interesting about this is the design, because instead of that main compartment being up front, it's been moved to the back. So we're gonna go ahead and start there. Here in this area, you're gonna see lots of space and options for storing gear. There are two padded sleeves, one that fits a 15-inch laptop, and then a smaller one that can fit an iPad or a similar sized tablet. And then directly behind that, there's a large, deep zippered pocket, and below that, two open pockets. And I'm talking about some electronics here for options, because this is an everyday carry bag, but you see everything that I stuff in here. So there's a lot of flexibility and lots of options in what you can do with this space. Okay, now let's go ahead and close that up and check out the back panel itself. So here we see two large padded shoulder sections and then the lower lumbar support. And here there's a hidden zippered pocket, which could be great for storing valuables, maybe a single stack pistol, whatever. For me, I just threw an extra pair of socks in there and some 55-gallon trash bags. And then also, it's good to take note of the unique shoulder harness design that we got going on here, which is definitely different from your average pack. And I can attest to the fact that it is quite comfortable. Not once in the 40 plus miles that I've put on this pack did my straps ever dig into my back, or the pack ever really feel uncomfortable at all. So I kind of attribute that to the shoulder harness design, and then of course the lightweight that we have going on here. Now to the side, you're going to see slip pockets for a water bottle, a camera tripod, whatever might fit in here. For me, I was able to stick that little Tokes titanium cup in there, and then stick the 3V Gear water bottle in that, and it does pretty decently. And then up front, there is the first compartment, and this has the vertical zip, which is a nice design. It's a little interesting, took a little getting used to, but I figured out the best way to use this space was for lighter, more compact items. So you'll see I have my map in here, my compass, that Vortex scope, and then directly inside of this front compartment are two pockets as well. Now, behind that is a larger compartment that has a large zipper pocket that I have my fire steel in, my tinder, headlamp, and then in that wide open space there, I have the food and then that polar water bottle. And then finally, if we just take a quick look at the rest of the bag, There's a USB port on the outside. The front is constructed of PU coated polyester, which is basically kind of waterproof, but at least water resistant. And then of course, you gotta have YKK zippers all around to make the pack legit. All right, let's go ahead and get a look at that packing list. And like I told you guys, everything is broken up into categories, and everything in each category is broken down by the ounces. So it makes this process of gear selection stupid simple. And for me personally, it's a big benefit because whenever I want to go back and clone this kit or rebuild it, all I got to do is look at the link down there in the pinned post to the Patreon site. So anyways, let's jump into it. The first item here is the navigation component. That comes in at 16 ounces, primarily because of the Vortex scope, but I won't leave home without that. Then of course I have the compass, the map, the Right in the Rain pin, and that notepad. Okay, now on to food, and we got 38 ounces here, which includes the titanium Tokes cup and about 5,000 calories. Actually, I think it's more like 5,500 last time I checked, because I've been very intentional with my food selections. I've opted for the majority of the calories to come from carbs and the rest from fats and proteins. And the reason why is carbs are used for energy, obviously. And if I'm going to be moving a lot, I'm going to need energy. And those carbs are split between fast digesting carbs. That means carbs that I can eat on the go, like these energy bars. And then slow digesting sources such as the granola, which is going to be better when I'm resting and just kind of chilling out and renewing my battery so I can continue on the route. And the reason behind this is I kind of looked at endurance athletes, you know, the guys who do the 50-mile treks or the 100-mile treks, and I looked how they were eating, and then I kind of copied that a little bit. So that's the food selection. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is lighting and fire, which comes in super, super lightweight, 3 ounces. I have this tiny headlamp here. This is the UST Tight Light, which is 1 ounce. Then you have the tinder, which is stored in that match-proof or waterproof match case. We got jute twine in there and cotton balls and Vaseline, and then the Light My Fire fire steel. Moving on to tools, this is real simple. I got some pepper spray and I got the Baofeng radio with an enhanced upgraded antenna. The pepper spray, it is what it is. I really need to get rid of it and get a smaller bottle because it's just too big and clunky. But overall, this component comes in at right under 10 ounces. And for shelter, I have my hammock, which is 19.6 ounces, my poncho by Snug Pack, which is 15 ounces, and then 2 trash bags, 2 55-gallon trash bags, which are 3 ounces. Then on the medical side of things, we're coming in right at 13.7 ounces, and I do what I always do, which is split my medical kit up between the major trauma events, gunshots, puncture wounds, anything that bleeds a whole lot, and then everything else. And I've chosen just the basic things that you would see. I could probably upgrade this a little bit with maybe a chest seal or things that are more specific to gunshot wounds. Might not be a bad idea, and I'll probably do that in the future. There's also a focus here on foot care. Got the moleskin, got the Lotrimin, because if you're going to be on your feet for 40 plus miles, you got to make sure you take care of them. So on to hydration, which is also obviously really freaking important. I did have my small World War II issue stainless steel canteen in here. I ditched that. I got the Polar bottle. It's much lighter, and it comes in full at 28.7 ounces. And then I have the 3V Gear Torrent water bottle, which when full is 36.9 ounces. And then for water purification, I got the Potable Aqua water purification tabs, I got the Ceenoc Vecto bag, and the Sawyer Mini. And all of that together is about 7 ounces. And one thing to note, by the time that this video gets published, I will have replaced the Sawyer Mini with the Sawyer Squeeze. And that's just a little note. The Sawyer Mini combined with the Vecto bag is not nearly as effective. Then for technology, this is real simple. I got a charger and a cable. One thing to say about this charger, this is the smallest 10,000 milliampere hour charger on the market that I've been able to find. It is compact, it's lightweight, and it holds a charge for a significant long period of time. So it can sit in your bag for, I would say, at least a month. For me, it's been about a month, and it started out at 100% and I think dropped down to about 96 is what you see here. So super great charger. If you're in the market for an ultralight charger for your cell phone or another device, I strongly suggest checking that out. But that category comes in at right about 8 ounces. And then for apparel, this is pretty simple. I got gloves and some socks that comes in right at 5.2 ounces. And then we can't forget about hygiene. This is very simple: toothbrush, toothpaste, and then some wet wipes, because wet wipes are your life. They're your toilet paper, they're keeping you clean, they're doing a lot of things, and even serving as a fire starter when they're dry. So that's a little note, and that's really about it. That covers the entire packing list. So how much does all this weigh? 202 ounces, which equates to 12.65 pounds, which makes me really happy. So let's see here. So we add this up, right? So we got 12.65 pounds. The pack itself is 1.8. So let's just round that up to 2. And the total pack contents of 12.65, let's just round that up to 13. So let's say the pack with the contents, we're talking right about 15 pounds. And then if you put the Glock in there with the 2 mags, 1 in the weapon, 1 on the outside, you're gonna add a couple extra pounds, but you're still coming in very easily under that 20-pound mark. All right, guys, so that's a wrap. The packing list is down there in the pinned post, and you can go buy everything that I have in my bag, and that will get you started, but you have to get out in the field and train. Please don't miss that very important aspect of survivalism. Gear and guns, yes, but knowing how to use those items, also extremely important, because we are currently living in an ongoing shtf situation. Now, if you would have asked me 5 years ago if I thought I would ever have to bail out on foot over the course of 40 miles in 2 days, I would say probably no. But it's 2020 and anything is possible. And I care about you guys, and I want you to be ready for anything. So getting out there and training, especially with your gear and moving long distances on foot, you're gonna find out what you're missing real quick. So check out that pinned post, leave me a comment, and let me know how you guys are building your urban bailout kits, and I'll see you next time. Show your support for the channel by checking out the wide range of survival gear available at thesurvivaloutpost.com. We stock only top quality, rugged, tactical equipment and apparel designed to support any mission or situation life may throw your way. Any gear you've seen in this video is linked up down there in the pinned post, and be sure to check out the suggested videos for more real-world survival content and training.